I come from Croatia, NGO called GONG. We are doing mostly transparency and accountability.
I deal with NGOs and IT and how to bring it together.
I work at this NGO called Danela, which deals basically mostly in human rights.
We are working to make better connections between people working in the field of technology for social good.
This workshop offers us ways to learn new techniques and to get tips from professionals how to deal with data more efficiently, how to collect it efficiently, analyze it more efficiently, how to present it and visualize it.
School of Data is focusing particularly on data skills for people who want to use data to make the world better. We're going to have a look at what data you already work with. We're going to be looking at your kind of workflows, speeding them up, simplifying them. And then the final thing is this kind of plan. Where do we go after you leave here?
We would like to enable people just to find out how much money was spent in their village and when was it spent.
The main issue is visualization, because anti-corruption and accountability aren't very sexy.
One of the things we'd like to implement in these wikis is a semantic media wiki.
I spend a lot of time crunching that in Excel, and it's not the optimal way to do it.
We have this data, and we need to tell the people how to use them and why they are so important.
What we're trying to do is give them a trajectory, and so at the workshop here we're trying to show them what's possible.
So this is Ushahidi, a kind of crowdsourcing citizen information platform to tackle flooding in Poland as it's happening, so kind of monitoring a problem and how it's being dealt with.
Yeah, Farm Subsidy is pretty interesting because it's one of the first projects that kind of challenged the European Union to start delivering data about where money goes.
Data is if you manage to get hold of your data in some way, but there are things wrong with it. So things like things missing, things entered incorrectly in there which you've got to tidy up.
Basically, it's unlocking stuff that's in web pages or PDF documents and turning it back into data. You identify the patterns in the web page, pull out the elements and recreate the database.
Oh yeah.
So you can think of data as having a shape, and if you can visualize it in particular ways, you can make those shapes and structures evident. You can find two groups of populations or people who you think are supposed to be the same and look for differences between them. In the UK, MPs have local constituencies around the country. Constituencies may be rural or city-based, they may have good travel access, they may not. So if you're just looking at the person who claims most on the travel expense or least, why is that interesting? The people in the middle, are they all the same sorts of people or not? I could merge the data sets to give me a set of data about spend by MP by location. And I plotted on the map markers coloured according to how much someone claimed. Once you look at the data though, in the Midlands there were a couple of red markers. People claiming a large amount, all their neighbours are not claiming much. Right, so that's odd. Why is this person atypical?
What I'd like us to do is that we really manage to go through what kind of data you have, how we could think of involvement in the different phases.
I took data on transparency research, transparency of local government, and we made an index of most transparent ones and the shady ones, let's say. And I bought raw data, so maybe we can play around with it.
Can you sort of describe what you're trying to do and what you get?
Twice a year we have a consultation of budget. There is no written information, there are just tables and tables and tables and tables. But if you don't know what is going on in each row, in each column, it's hard to understand.
And it's still going.
It's still going.
So this is a tool called Gephi. This is one of the plugins called the Semantic Web Import.
There's a lot of tools out there that if you're not an expert in that field, they can seem a little bit impenetrable. And of course there's a learning curve with a lot of them, especially the visualization tools. But what's useful about this is you can get a quick insight into shortcuts and entry points that specifically speak to your needs. And Tony was able to give me a nice entry point to using Gephi. It's a tool I've tried to use before and several times run up into a brick wall and not been willing to spend the time. And I'm still not willing to spend the time to learn it in and out, but what I'm able to do now is spend a couple of hours to produce something quick and easy that I specifically need. And that's something that's hard to get online.
And then your question was how can I automatically get the information out?
Yes, if possible, at least some of it. The analysis is the next step. First of all, we need to have clean, beautiful, ready to be used data. So I will focus on the stuff that are allowing non-professionals to start anything. So to collect the data properly, as well as getting the data from messy documents and from non-existing sources as well.
It was quite useful to see step by step how to upload data and then make it visually attractive and put it on the website, embedded to our website.
I think I'll be taking back mostly these incredible new techniques to visualize data, to analyze it, which is basically the core of data wrangling. You need to be able to use this data to know what it stands for, what it represents.